So one of the values of the network is to be very up to date on the local debate and also initiatives that are either just launched or about to be launched. These initiatives often come from government pronouncements of some kind, and there's developing a consensus around the direction of the work to be done, whether it's an infrastructure project, whether it's a reorganization of some kind of resource delivery, water or power, to be able to develop some consensus on a direction for not only the kinds of technologies that can be applied for the benefit of resource efficiency, but also for greater access to the population. But also, after projects are developed and after they're built, maintained and operated over long periods of time, and also then revisiting this infrastructure to establish that they are actually delivering the resource efficiency that was targeted and the access to resources that was intended over longer periods of time. This past June, the AUM, African Urban Metabolism Network, held its first workshop in Cape Town, hosted by the Sustainability Institute in Stellenbosch. We brought together our 24 partners in discussing three major themes to launch the real work of the network. The first is data availability and use of data. The second was the expertise, local expertise, but then additional expertise, the expertise that was missing. And the third was then the landscape, policy and governance and business landscape in which implementation can happen for the future. The discussions lasted 2 days and essentially led to a number of these cities talking to one another and then launching individual projects, specific projects that we're now working on. What was surprising was the city scale, the individual city, the political boundary of the city was also a somewhat problematic scale to be making decisions, because this often many African cities have very little revenue capture. They receive revenue from the national government, and so they don't necessarily have the resources to make take paradigm shifts or to make really huge capital investments in infrastructure. So what was interesting and a bit surprising was that the provincial scale or the state scale, the city plus its greater region, in some places you can call it the metropolitan region scale, was the scale at which there could be a very positive coordination between infrastructure planning and the kinds of investments and business models that could then lead to change. So the next workshop we will hold in the summer of 2016 in Lagos, Nigeria, and we are hoping that a substantial part of the participants are businesses, local, national, but also international. Again, the reason being that we really want to have industry at the table from the very beginning of discussions about what the next phase of urban infrastructure planning and technology development will be. In addition to that, we're holding regional workshops. We're planning one now for March 2016 in Cairo. And the idea of that workshop is partly to bring momentum and excitement to a number of possibilities for coupling the academic analytical work with new business niches and models, because in Cairo there's a huge expansion of the urban population, and there is a stated goal to build an enormous several 100,000 units of housing, and to build them in a way that's closer to the Western model, but doing so without new technologies, resource efficient urban systems that are delivered by businesses will be impossible.